And that doesn't seem like she's making travel accessible for all, does it? That could have been a useful tip for her audience rather than this weird demand video. Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. My name is Sam. If you are a returning viewer, welcome back to the channel. I am so happy to have you guys here again with me for the shenanigans this week. If you are new here and this is the first time you are seeing my face, welcome. I make weekly videos dissecting internet nonsense, so if you're into that type of thing or you like today's video, I hope that you'll consider liking and subscribing. It really helps out the channel and make sure that you never miss another upload from me. What did you all think of last week's video where we were talking about Jae Bae and her demands that the FAA make airlines provide plus-size passengers with up to 2 or 3 or more free seats to make themselves comfortable? I'm not gonna lie, I am still reeling from that video and all that I found because, as I said, I was fully planning to just barely touch on that topic because it was about 6 months old and then move on with the more recent topic, which is her now making demands of hotels. And if you thought last week's video was off the rails, buckle up, Buttercup, because this week is gonna be wild. Let's get started by taking a look at her TikTok where she is making new demands of hotels.
I'm on a mission to revolutionize the travel industry and make it a more accessible, accepting, accommodating place for all. The needs of plus-size travelers matter just as much as anybody else, and today I'm going to cover what we are looking for in accessible, size-inclusive hotel amenities. Size-inclusive hotel amenities are crucial for ensuring that plus-size travelers feel welcomed, accommodated, and comfortable during their stay. We deserve an environment that respects our needs and body diversity. These are the exact steps that hotels can take to be more size-inclusive and accessible for travelers of all sizes. Number 1 on the list, provide sturdy, wider chairs without armrests in guest rooms, lobbies, and common areas to accommodate different body sizes and types. Number 2 on the list, ensure beds with strong support and a higher weight capacity, along with providing reinforced chairs and wider bathroom facilities. Number 3, make elevators and hallways spacious to allow for easy movement of larger individuals and those utilizing mobility devices. Number 4, install grab bars in showers and near toilets. Offer adjustable handheld shower heads and raised toilet seats for added accessibility. Number 5, train staff to be respectful, understanding, and accommodating to travelers of all sizes. Number 6, provide pool lifts and handrails at the entry of the pool. This will allow for plus-size guests and guests with different abilities to enjoy all amenities. Number 7, hotel restaurants should have roomy seating options and sturdy chairs, ensuring that everybody can dine comfortably. Number 8, offer larger beach and pool seating. Provide oversized loungers and seating at the beach and pool areas, allowing travelers of all sizes and abilities to be comfortable. Number 9, hotels should provide size-inclusive bathrobes. These should go up to a size 6X and beyond. And hotels should also provide bath sheets or plus-size friendly towels so that travelers of all sizes and abilities can use them comfortably. And last but not least, this is an important one. Display clear and accurate information on these amenities on hotel websites. Include weight limits, seat dimensions, and things like that. And include information on the size-inclusive amenities available. This will help plus-size travelers make informed decisions. By implementing these size-inclusive hotel amenities, hotels can become more inclusive and accommodating. Be sure to hit that follow button for more plus-size travel tips and share this with someone who you think would help.
I'll start by sharing that I don't think everything that Jae Bae has to say in this video is completely off the wall. But for me, I do struggle with how vague she tends to be in her demands specifically for hotels, because she was so very specific when she was making demands of the airlines. Let's look at point number 1 as an example.
Number 1 on the list, provide sturdy, wider chairs without armrests in guest rooms, lobbies, and common areas to accommodate different body sizes and types.
She is asking hotels to provide sturdier chairs with higher weight capacities and no armrests because that will be more comfortable for plus-size people. And she's asking them to spread them throughout the lobbies, the common areas, and then also to put them in the rooms. And I've seen a lot of people sort of take this as she means that every chair should be this way with no armrests, and that can be detrimental to people who have disabilities or who are older and may need those armrests to help get themselves out of the chair. I don't think that's what she's actually saying. Specifically for the lobby and the common areas, that made sense to me because hotels could easily kind of sprinkle those in with the seating that already exists, and then everyone could be accommodated easily, right? That's not that off the wall. For me, it's about the focus of her asking them specifically to put that type of seating in the rooms because Again, she's a little bit vague with this demand. Does she want hotels to put those in every room? Is that the only chair she wants in every room? Because typically, if you stay at a hotel, even if it's a hotel suite, you're really only going to have maybe like a couch or recliner, so that shouldn't be a problem, right? That's big enough for a plus-size person. But then the only other thing you really have is like a desk chair. I don't know that I've seen a lot of desk chairs without arms. I'm sure that they exist. Is she demanding that those are in every single hotel room, or maybe just sprinkled in a couple that would then be for plus-size travelers specifically? Like, would you have to request that room? She's left it a little bit too wide open, which I think is leading to a lot of varied interpretations of what she is actually asking for. And if you know anything about the internet, it's not a good idea to leave things open to interpretation. I feel the same way when she continues to make demands that the hotel should have larger, sturdier beds with higher weight capacities for plus-size travelers. Because the first thing that popped into my brain was the expense of that. And we spent a little bit of time talking about how airlines are not going to eat the cost of that, right? Hotels are not going to eat the cost of that to replace every single bed in their hotel. And it was hard for me. I mentioned in last week's video, I'm not a math person. But like, imagine how many beds a hotel has, right? If they have 500 rooms, some of those have single beds, some of those have 2 beds in them. There's a lot of beds. That's a lot of mattresses to replace if she is indeed demanding that they replace every single bed. That way, plus-size travelers don't have to single themselves out by asking specifically for a plus-size room or accommodation. She's left it vague. So it's open to our interpretation, and my interpretation is she's asking them to change every single bed because she doesn't want to have to call and ask for those arrangements. She just wants it to be a regular part of the room. Imagine that number of beds, and then imagine hotels having to replace them with these higher capacity mattresses. If you don't know, there are companies out there who do make the mattresses that she is asking for. There are companies like Big Fig, Helix Plus, and Wink Beds. And what makes them high capacity is that they have more springs as well as a little bit more cushion to be on top of those springs. Those mattresses are hella expensive, ranging from about $1,200 to $1,700 per bed. And again, if a hotel, we're going with the number 500, but some hotels have more than 500 beds, that's like $600,000 to $800,000 to replace all of the mattresses to meet Jae Bae's demands. There is absolutely no way hotels are going to take their profit and eat that loss to replace all of their beds. That's just an unrealistic ask. And I think if she really wanted to exact a change, she would be a little bit more specific and say, it's okay if these are only in certain rooms that we then have to ask for. We understand it's expensive. Because the only other thing that can happen, exactly as we said with the airlines, is they're going to pass that cost back onto the consumer. So now everyone is paying for Jae Bae's demands. I also want to just take a second to point out that Jae Bae's demand is to get these mattresses in that have these higher weight capacities. And as I mentioned, that means they have more springs in them, because the purpose of that is that the construction is harder, so that your plus-size body isn't going to sink into the mattress as much, which means those beds are very firm. Now, imagine a straight-sized person or a thin person sleeping on this bed. It is going to feel like they're sleeping on the floor because they don't have the body weight to make those springs flex in the same way that a plus-size person does. So if Jae Bae is indeed asking them to replace every single bed in this way, she is negating the fact that hotels should also remain comfortable for people in normal or straight-sized bodies. She's left it open, so she has not said, no, I'm not asking them to do every single hotel bed this way, which means she then doesn't care about other people's comfort. She cares about her comfort and the comfort of other plus-size travelers only, and that doesn't seem like she's making travel accessible for all, does it? So this leaves me with a lot of questions for Jae Bae. Is it okay for her demands to be fulfilled and then it leaves other travelers uncomfortable? Are you asking hotels to simply have a few plus size friendly rooms the same way they're required to have ADA accessible rooms? Because for the most part, those things are doable for hotels, right? A lot of hotels have ADA accessible rooms already, but that doesn't seem to be what you're demanding. So Jae Bae, like, do you just want to offer some clarity on that? I would love to know. Now, she starts to get off the rails just a little bit for me when she just sneaks in here that they should also have wider bathroom facilities,
along with providing reinforced chairs and wider bathroom facilities.
I sort of love that she didn't expand on that. She just sort of like slipped it in here, but also, what do you mean? Like, could you please expand and explain what you mean about wider bathroom facilities? Then she continues on to just prove to everyone that she has little to no understanding of the ADA requirements that are already in place, let alone the architecture or engineering that goes into building a hotel.
Number 3, make elevators and hallways spacious to allow for easy movement of larger individuals and those utilizing mobility devices.
I'm not gonna lie to you guys. I was floored to hear her talk about hotels needing wider hallways. And before I was a history nerd, I was going to be an architect. I fully took architecture and construction classes. I was headed down that path. So I have a little bit of knowledge left in my brain. It's been quite a while, so a lot of it is gone. But my immediate reaction was hotel hallways, any hallway, is required to be at least 3 feet wide because of the ADA regulations that are already in place. If she's demanding that hotels have wider hallways or make their hallways wider, they would have to reconstruct the entire building. It's not a realistic expectation or even possibility. It was fascinating for me to watch Jae Bae go through her demands in this section because a lot of her complaints are things that are already being regulated by the ADA. And these rules for like bathroom width, hallway width, egresses, turnaround space, all of that exists and was put into a federal policy back in 2010. And that legislation was clearly laid out, so it was voted in 2010, and basically any building built in 2010 up to now has had to follow these very specific rules and ADA guidelines. Because there is such a thing as undue hardship on existing businesses, and even the government realized there's no realistic way for existing hotels to go back and make these accommodations without tearing down the building and rebuilding the whole thing anyway. And if you don't know, part of Jae Bae's thing here is that she is a travel influencer. So a lot of her content on TikTok is her providing little tips or tricks to other plus-size travelers. It could have been much more useful for her to just create a tips and tricks video, letting people know to avoid hotels that were built in 2010 or prior, because they're not going to have those ADA accommodations unless they could make them work in their existing building. So it's a risk if you stay somewhere that's historic or built prior to 2010. That could have been a useful tip for her audience rather than this weird demand video. It's intriguing to me to watch Jae Bae sort of show that she has no understanding that these ADA regulations are already in place and already covering a lot of the demands that she's making. I took some screenshots here from the ADA website where you can see they've thought about how much clear ground space is needed in rooms and bathrooms and elevators for users with wheelchairs or other mobility aids to use these spaces, even going as far as discussing the full turning radius they would need to comfortably turn around. These weren't just randomly decided and thrown onto paper, they were meticulously planned. Replacing the beds and potentially all of the chairs are expensive demands. Demanding that hotels make their hallways and elevator shafts wider is just downright unrealistic. There's no feasible way for hotels to make those changes once the building is built. And the truth is, if the elevator shafts and the hallways are getting wider, they're really not leaving a lot of space for the rooms to be bigger and those bathroom facilities to be bigger. So the question then becomes, where does it stop? How large do these things need to be? How much is that going to reduce the number of rooms? And then our hotel's going to have to charge more because the number of rooms has been reduced. I'll also add she asks for a few other things.
Number 4, install grab bars in showers and near toilets. Offer adjustable handheld shower heads and raised toilet seats for added accessibility.
And that these items are also covered under the ADA accessible guidelines. And just to add insult to injury for Jae Bae here, because we've been talking about whether or not she means every hotel room or that they have just some spread out that plus size travelers can ask for, this legislation even went as far as to decide how many ADA accessible rooms hotels must have based on the number of rooms they have, but has also required them to spread them out throughout the facility so they can't all just be bunched together in one spot, and that hotels consider various room sizes. So does it have one bed? Does it have multiple beds? Is it a suite that's ADA accessible? All of those things have to be thought about unless it proves undue hardship to the hotel. To me, if Jae Bae was actually looking to make change here, she would have done a little bit of research to see that some ADA guidelines actually exist. And much like the demands that she has for airlines, she could have put together a petition where she is much more in depth about what she is specifically asking for. This would require working with groups like the ADA to get legislation pushed through, much like they did in 2010. But again, like that requires more effort than just shouting into a camera on social media. And honestly, for me, in my humble opinion, this is why I don't believe that this actually means anything to Jae Bae. I don't think she is actually trying to exact real change. Because if she were, she would have come armed to the gills with this research and this information up front, because she's making this video after she's made her airline demands, where she was much more specific, and she's still having to come back and deal with misinformation. After going through that entire experience, she expects me to believe that this is a serious thing that she cares about, but she didn't come at it with nearly the amount of upfront research, upfront information, and upfront resources to break any of those myths or misunderstandings, because they're bound to happen if you leave things this vague. She would have been laying this out in a way that was like, listen, I know that these ADA guidelines exist, and I'm saying they're not good enough, and she didn't do that. And I want to pause for just a second here to get really real with you guys. I cannot say whether or not these ADA guidelines are actually doing good for people with disabilities. So I would be curious to know. I know sometimes some of you in the comments will share things with me like that. If you are actually a person with a disability, are these guidelines working for you? Are there improvements that could actually be made? And is Jae Bae hitting any of them? I would honestly be curious to know, because her claims don't seem like they would actually be doing much for the disability community, but she sure is comfortable using them as a shield. And with that said, actually, something I hadn't thought about until right now in this moment is maybe Jae Bae's not mentioning the ADA because she's talking specifically about other countries. I wonder if she's targeting this at hotels that are outside of the United States. Do you guys think that's possible? I just am now putting that together, that yes, the US has ADA guidelines in place, and I'm sure there are guidelines in other countries, but I'm almost curious now if she is taking this very American-centric approach and trying to apply it to other countries and other countries' hospitality and hotels. It's almost like she's saying American hotels are doing it better, which is very American-centric, which is also very problematic, right? Because you're basically implying that America is bigger and better than other places. It's not a good look, so I'm curious to know what you guys think. And because this is a Jae Bae video, and we're already talking about being problematic, let's take a look together at her subtle but not realized nods to her own privilege once again in this video.
Number 9, hotels should provide size-inclusive bathrobes. These should go up to a size 6X and beyond. And hotels should also provide bath sheets or plus-size friendly towels so that travelers of all sizes and abilities can use them comfortably.
I'm not gonna lie, I laughed out loud when I heard her say that every hotel should carry up to 6X bathrobes, because Is she aware that most hotels, especially budget hotels, don't offer free bathrobes? That's that nod to privilege, right? She stays in these luxury hotels so frequently that she thinks every hotel offers this thing. But they don't. Those are often reserved for luxury hotels or top tier hotels, which is not where most people are staying. I just can't imagine not realizing how privileged I am and saying things like this out loud on the internet. Like the secondhand embarrassment that I feel. And the lack of self-awareness is just astounding to me. And finally, her demand for 6X bath towels or bath sheets. Is it weird to anyone else, or is it only weird to me that her demands for like accessibility tools and resources are now aligned with her demanding larger bathrobes and bath towels? Like, it hit a point where it almost felt like those two things probably should not have been combined into one single demand video. It seems like conflating actual needs with wants. And also, I think I just found this annoying because, like, hotels are pretty generous with towels already. So her sticking point is that she wants a towel that will wrap around her whole body, when she could easily just use the 2 or 3 towels they provide to dry her entire body off. Like, what is the need or purpose to be able to wrap it around yourself? I guess that's just not how I get ready, so I don't understand that. Just dry yourself off and then get dressed. Like, why do you need to have a towel that wraps all the way around your body? And I'm also annoyed by the lack of clarity on this demand again. Do you want them to carry these for every single room? Are you asking that hotels just have a couple of these on hand for people to request? What if you call to request it and somebody else has already requested them? Is that not good enough? At this point, I don't even know why I'm asking probing questions, because I'll get to why this is annoying to me, because it's a very personalized want that she's listing as a sort of need for plus size travelers. And here's why I say that. Because at one point in my life, I had Little Mermaid fire engine red hair. I will put a picture in so you guys can see what it looked like. And during that period of my life, for those of you who have not had red hair, like this red, it freaking bleeds everywhere. Every time I took a shower, it looked like someone was getting murdered. If you sweat, if you just let your hair like lay, if my hair was laying on this shirt and it was that color red, the shirt would now be red. It just doesn't hold in your hair. It has something to do with the size of the color molecule and your hair follicle on your head. Thank you to my sister, who is a cosmetologist. I knew when I traveled that hotels were going to have white blankets, white towels, white pillowcases. So you know what I did? Instead of demanding that they carry something for me to help protect the pillow, I started taking a red pillowcase and a red hair towel with me every single time I traveled, because I knew that if I screwed up those sheets or those towels, that they were going to charge me for it, and I didn't want to deal with that. And I also knew that realistically my hair was going to bleed onto everything. Just put the freaking towel that you want in your suitcase and take it with you. I don't understand why that is like such a hard thing. Because to be perfectly honest, even if hotels had those things, I don't want to call the front desk and ask them to bring me a plus size towel. Plus size people on airplanes don't even want to ask for a seatbelt extender because it's too embarrassing. And now potentially they're going to have to book their own plus size room or ask for their own plus size towels, or she's asking them to make changes that are universal at hotels. There's no other option here. Which is why I'm just like, where is the clarity? What are we doing here? I just don't understand how Jae Bae thinks she's going to exact actual change by making this video. And in fact, when I became curious about what I said about whether or not she's complaining about European hotels or American hotels, I was trying to figure out where she actually travels to, because she's branded herself as a travel blogger, right? And that's why she talks about airline seats and airline bathrooms and things like that on her channel. I actually figured out that she has at least 3 Instagram accounts, which comment on each other's posts, which always just cracks me up, like, girl, get friends. But she has 3 accounts. One is Jae Bae Official, then she has Jae Bae Productions, and also Jay's Social Media Management and Consulting. I think what's actually happening is Jae Bae has some sort of background in social media and marketing, and she is working that algorithm to her benefit. Which, again, to each their own, but I don't think she wants to make actual change unless it results in her getting free product. I don't know about you, but I think I would have believed her maybe a little bit more if she had put even an iota of research into the things she was demanding, if she had put in any work to make it clear, and if she had shown that she was taking actual concrete steps to try to make these changes. Instead, what we have, once again, is just a fat activist on the internet shouting claims into the void while shielding themselves with a real community and a real movement to help people with disabilities. And that is disgusting. All right, that is all I have for you guys today. At this point, I'm curious to know, did you see Jae Bae's demands of hotels? What do you think about her blending together sort of accessibility needs with the wants that she has as a plus size individual? Did you notice that she did that, like kind of conflated those two things together? As always, I'm curious to know, so I hope that you guys will share your opinions with me down in the comment section. And for all my introvert friends out there who do not feel comfortable sharing your opinion in the internet comment section, I see you, I feel you. Let's do either some sort of building or construction emoji down in the comments this week. I love seeing your emojis just as much as I love reading those opinions, so please do leave them for me. Thank you all so much for being here with me this week. I will see you in the next one. Bye.